Welcome to Live with the Guy. Thanks for everybody coming over from our other channel, Nat and the Guy in Espanol. If you do speak Spanish, Nat has a nightly show on our Spanish channel at 8 p.m. Mexico City time. And then we're right back here at 9:15 for a show with me and Nat in English where we review all the day's politics and news. Okay, we got some big stories today. As you probably seen by the thumbnail, India and Pakistan war is escalating very quickly. It's an extremely fluid situation. Also, we got a lot of Disney Dubai news. I'm going to start with some pop culture because YouTube usually doesn't like when I talk politics, so I'll blend it in much later in the show. So we got Nat over here. Why don't you say hi?
Hello.
She's doing all the switching. You'll hear her. She kind of sounds like an AI voice, but she'll be reading all the articles. Okay, why don't we go into Disney Dubai?
So Disney plans new theme park in Abu Dhabi, its most tech-forward resort yet. The park will be owned and operated by Mural, with Disney Imagineers designing the IP-laden resort. Disney Experiences chairman Josh D'Amaro breaks down the deal with The Hollywood Reporter.
And this is supposed to be a tech-centric Disney, which is a little strange because I really think that's going away from Disney's tradition, fundamentals, and their real value, which is their historical IPs. I understand they've been destroying their historical IPs lately, but it would be nice to really see them lean back into their history and try to fix this stuff. Get rid of the DEI. Just remake these movies in a traditional sense, and I think people would come back to Disney. There are rumors that Disney is looking for a new CEO other than Bob Iger. Was that correct? You were telling me that earlier, Nat? So I would like to see Elon Musk or Nelson Peltz in there. I know Elon Musk has a lot more time on his hands now that he's kind of stepping away from Doge a little bit, but Nelson Peltz is really looking for that job, and I think he could really remake that company. He was involved in, I believe, it was 2 hostile takeovers now that failed, but he's getting closer and closer every time. So maybe they'll try for a third one. If Bob Iger remains president, Disney stock is really going to start to take a dive, and that would be the perfect time for Nelson Peltz to try a third. This article has a kind of AI generated image of what this Dubai theme park is going to look like. I think we have another article going in more in depth into the story. Why don't we go to that?
Oh, we don't.
Oh, you don't? Okay, so I'll talk about it.
This is the only one I had.
Okay, I'll talk about it here. So this new Disney theme park in Abu Dhabi, Dubai, it's in Yas Island. Yas Island, I accidentally did a deep dive on the other day. This is where they're building all these theme parks within Dubai. So they have a theme park, Ferrari theme park, the WB theme park, SeaWorld theme park. But what they're doing is they're not working in conjunctions with these other theme parks like SeaWorld and things like that. They're licensing the IP out and licensing the name and keeping control over it. These are multi-billion-dollar theme parks, and they are done right. I mean, they are state of the art. The problem is there's not a lot of attendance in these parks because they're in Dubai, but they look absolutely phenomenal. A lot of people say they lack a little bit of soul and character because they are so new, and that's kind of what I would expect from this Disney theme park. If it's going to be tech-centric and it's based in Dubai, I really don't know what kind of soul it's going to have, but I'm sure they're going to do a lot of testing on a lot of new things, a lot of screens that they can bring into the other Disney theme parks around the world. Now, Disney Imagineers and stuff will be part of the design of the park, but I believe the owners in Dubai do have final say, and thank God, because Disney is really destroying their IP and their theme parks around the world. We can see what's happening with Disney World as of late, and it's turning into absolute garbage. And with Universal opening up down the road, what's the name of the Universal theme park?
Epic Universe.
Epic Universe. It looks phenomenal. If you haven't checked out Epic Universe on YouTube, go look at it. They're using a lot of Universal's IPs, and they're not just competing with Disney World, they're blowing them out of the water. This could end up being a good thing for Disney because it's going to really make them reinvest in Disney World. But when they make that reinvestment, it's going to be like a 5 to 10 year remodel of that theme park to catch up to Universal. So it's going to be very interesting what happens there.
I think your sound might be cutting in and out.
Oh, my sound's cutting in and out.
Because we changed settings.
Okay. Did somebody comment on that or no?
I just noticed.
Okay, well, let's just continue like this. And we're having technical difficulties every day, so we'll kind of see what happens. Sorry if there are any technical issues. I've redone the streaming settings, but this is the first time we're actually trying to record live, so we can potentially do clips. But the recording live and streaming at the same time may be causing some issues with the audio. We'll have to see on replay. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's go into the ESPN cable subscriptions. So why don't you read this out?
ESPN cable subscribers will get access to new streaming features.
Okay, why don't you read a little bit of this?
So ESPN's core viewers will have a surprising opportunity to connect with the soon-to-launch streaming version of the service. If you're a subscriber of linear ESPN, you will automatically get what I know we've been referring to as ESPN flagships. That's the Disney CEO Bob Iger during an investor call Wednesday, referring to a new streaming service that is slated to launch by fall. Linear subscribers will still get access to many interactive features planned for the new service that will be made available via ESPN's mobile app. The plan would be to basically be somewhat agnostic from a subscriber perspective so that we can still do our best to preserve the multi-channel ecosystem, but at the same time, we obviously want to grow our DTC business.
Okay, I had Nat read that article because I just wanted you to hear a lot of the BS Iger is trying to push. Why is this article even out? Because Iger did a quarterly earnings call for ESPN, and he's really trying to hype nothing. There's nothing there, and Disney is collapsing on a lot of different levels. They own ESPN, but a lot of the plans they had for ESPN don't really seem to be working out. Mainly online betting. They want you to be able to bet on games live on your TV and on your TV app. So a lot of people were kind of against this because Disney is geared towards children, and they're potentially making a pipeline from Disney Plus to ESPN to online gambling, which could get children involved in gambling at a very young age. This was expected if ESPN was able to approve this online betting on TV, that this would be their main profit-driven model in the future, and it would bring most of the revenue and save the company. Problem is, Donald Trump's in office right now, and it looks like he's putting a lot of wood in the wheels of Disney right now. I don't know if he's going to approve TV betting for them. Also, there's talks of different mergers happening with different Disney subsidiaries, and that's not going so well because the federal government has to approve any major corporate mergers and things like that. So if you do hear anything about ESPN over the next couple of days, it's just a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of nothing. It's a nothing burger, much like with the Disney earnings call this year. Bob Iger was really trying to avoid questions by having pre-rehearsed questions and a pre-rehearsed video that he put out rather than taking live questions from actual stockholders. Okay, do you have anything about Disney Dubai? I forgot to ask you because I know that's a pretty good big issue for you.
Why is it a big issue for me?
You're always talking about Disney. And theme parks.
The theme parks.
And cruises you're always talking about.
Yes. So essentially, I just think they've tried to do a lot with Dubai and in Dubai. They tried Dubai Land. They've tried a lot of other theme parks that haven't really gone anywhere. But
the one theme park that did work very well and it has had constant high attendance within Yas Island and Dubai was the Universal Warner Brothers studio, where they had Batman and a bunch of other things. It turned out where it's the highest attendance park within Yas Island in Dubai. So I would expect something similar from Disney. Could potentially do well. The problem they're going to have is Disney is really suffering and destroying all their IPs. Woke culture has just infested that company to the tits. Now, that being said, the fact that they're only having a licensing agreement with Disney and they may be able to steer it a little bit in a different direction could be a good sign. I know the Disneyland within Japan, it also has a licensing agreement. Am I right on that, Nat?
What?
The Disney World or Disneyland in Japan is licensed out and separate from
Yes.
major Disney. And that's why that particular theme park has been able to weather the storm a lot better than their other theme parks. Okay, next we have a little bit of Lionsgate news, and the story after this is going to be talking about John Wick. Lionsgate is actually the one that shoots John Wick, so why don't you read a little bit of the story and then I'll give my thoughts on it.
So if you don't know, Lionsgate is a production company. Maybe we should start with that.
Lionsgate is a production company from Vancouver, Canada.
Yes.
I don't know if it's named after the Lionsgate Bridge, which is the major bridge going in and out of Vancouver, who the Guinness family that makes the beer actually financed back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
So just a
believe it
little nugget of information for everybody. But it is the major studio there. It has had a lot of success in recent times. So it went from a small independent studio to a major heavy hitter. With these tariffs coming in on the movie industry, it's going to be interesting how it affects Lionsgate. But I also think they have an office within LA now.
Yes, so Lionsgate Entertainment has completed the full separation of its studio and Starz business into two standalone publicly traded companies. They start trading today, Lionsgate Studios on the NYSE, Starz on the NASDAQ. The separation was approved by an overwhelming majority of shareholders at a special shareholder meeting last month, with over 99% of both classes of Lionsgate shareholders, A and B. The dual share structure has now been collapsed into a single class stock.
Yeah, so this is going to be very interesting. Lionsgate is becoming a heavy hitter right now, and they're making moves maybe before this tariff actually comes in. So they've been on both sides of the woke equation, so we'll kind of have to keep an eye and see what happens. I really do like Lionsgate. I used to work in the film industry in Vancouver, Canada, and we worked on a lot of Lionsgate films. One of their biggest projects right now is John Wick, and this will kind of move into the next story, which is going to be John Wick. And I'll read a little bit about it while she's bringing up the article here.
Oh, you went? Oh, okay.
Oh, good, you did have it.
It's not a continuation. John Wick 5 won't involve the high table. Early story update reveals.
Okay, yeah, so John Wick 5 is a new story and is not a continuation of the old Vengeance story of him losing his dog. Did he also lose his wife?
I think so.
I think it was his dog and his wife.
And it's translated through the dog mostly.
Yeah, and the dog died, but got him. His wife died, but got him the dog.
Passed away.
So he had a huge emotional connection, and that's why he went out for this spat of a vendetta for the last 4 episodes. It's going to be very interesting if they can really compel the character going forward. What are his motivations if it's no longer the wife and the dog? The dog was really just an extension of his wife. So it's going to be interesting if they do it right. This is the right move, I believe. You can't just keep making the same movie over and over and over. You have to make the plot overall change just a little bit and put some new elements in there. So this is a good chance for a revamp. It's maybe best to do a revamp when John Wick is at a high point, and it's definitely at a high point right now. I'm wondering if it's going to be able to sustain in the long run. As we covered on our other channel, there is a ton of John Wick IPs coming out. Multiple different sub-characters are getting their own movies. They're having cartoon versions. They're having all kinds of different IPs come out of John Wick. Basically, they're making a John Wick universe, much like a Marvel universe. This is coming out of Lionsgate, so Lionsgate's involved in all this IP. It's going to be an interesting road if they're able to sustain it, especially since a lot of these projects were written during the woke era. It takes a couple years for films to get written, get into production, and start going. The scripts they must have for a lot of these movies and shoot-offs from this IP must be written highly woke. So will they take some time to kind of delay some of these projects and rewrite them, or take wokeness out of them like they did with Grand Theft Auto? I reported yesterday and the day before. Grand Theft Auto was supposed to be released, I believe it was this month, yet it's now been delayed an entire year. They're saying they don't want to disappoint fans and they want to get it right. But the rumors are they're trying to take out all the wokeness from this game, and there was supposedly a lot of messaging in this game. So I'm glad to see they are taking out the messaging, and I think it is the right thing to do because that particular franchise is an $8 billion franchise and it's literally the lifeblood of Rockstar Games. If they get that wrong, it could put the company into bankruptcy. Okay, let's go into, this was a smaller story. Why don't you read this really quick?
So Michael Pitt of Dawson's Creek arrested on disgusting abuse charges.
Yeah, and I kind of brought this in just to talk about SA. And if you don't know what SA is, just read the headline there. I'm trying to be better about my YouTube censorship so I don't get censored as much. I know Nat has really been on me about that. Did you used to watch Dawson's Creek or no?
No.
Okay, I used to actually watch Dawson's Creek, funnily enough. A lot of the actors were able to maintain careers outside of it, much like the main character that played Dawson and Pacey. If you are going to get charged with SA, now's maybe the time that you would want it. So I don't know the details of this charge. Why don't we see if there are more details or if they're really vague? If they are really vague, what that means is these could be trumped up charges.
Michael Pitt, known for his roles in Boardwalk Empire and Dawson's Creek, has been arrested on charges of disgusting behavior in New York City. Pitt, 44, was arrested and arraigned at King's Supreme Criminal Court in Brooklyn on May 2nd over alleged incidents that took place between April 2020 and August 2021. The Funny Games actor was charged with 2 counts of first-degree disgusting behavior, in addition to counts of assault with a blunt object and
what the hell is going on? I wonder what is actually going on here because
using his hands to squeeze someone's neck in the second degree, according to Variety, which has viewed the court documents.
Because he's being charged with, as we read it here, sexual abuse, not assault. So usually you would go straight to the assault charge. So and it's in New York, so they are very liberal with the way they apply these laws and things like this. So I'm going to be interested to see when the more details do come out of this, what the actual incident was in detail.
So Pitt pleaded not guilty to all charges and posted bail after the arraignment. His next court appearance is set for June 17. The New York Post reported that the charges stem from alleged incidents involving Pitt's ex-girlfriend, who said he did disgusting behavior to her and later attacked her with cement block and a chunk of wood. Law enforcement told the outlet that the alleged violent episodes occurred at Pitt's Bushwick home with his then girlfriend.
Okay, so it's now his ex-girlfriend. Yeah. But it was his current girlfriend at the time, and now she's pressing charges. I don't know. Very often when this happens between a boyfriend and a girlfriend, there's a lot of other things involved here, especially once they broke up. Did she make these charges once they did break up, and now she wants to get a civil case going and things like this? I don't really know, but like I was saying just a second ago, if you are going to have these kind of charges come out, right now is the political climate to have this happen, because a few years ago it was the Me Too movement before Johnny Depp stepped up and killed that movement. So
ended the life of that movement.
Ended the life of that movement. Sorry. We also have Harvey Weinstein case is currently going on in New York City as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see how that case turns out. A lot of new details are coming out that he wasn't as guilty as he seemed, and it seemed to be a classic Me Too dog pile where they organized the 60 separate defendants to all press charges at once so they can get major headlines and prosecute him in the court of public opinion. If you haven't watched Candace Owens' research on this, she did multiple episodes on it, extremely in depth. She was able to actually interview Harvey Weinstein from prison. She admitted she does not like Harvey Weinstein, so the fact that she is coming out with all this evidence, she is not the likely person to do so, but she is seeking the truth. So again, Candace Owens' segments with Harvey Weinstein were phenomenal. Okay, let's go into I think we're going to start transitioning a little bit into politics here. We'll start off pretty soft with Joe Biden.
So Joe Biden tells BBC he doubts it would have made much difference if he withdrew from 2024 race earlier. I don't think it would have mattered.
Yeah, and I don't think anything would have mattered. Donald Trump was winning that election. The cultural shift had already happened. Politics is downstream from culture, and independent culture through online media sources, independent media, and everything else had previously already shifted. So the independent voter was really geared towards Trump already, and they were tired of these crazy policies of wokeness. The far left had really captured the Democratic Party, and they were no longer a centrist party. So I don't think it would have mattered no matter what Joe Biden did. Trump was going to win that election. Now, we have seen interviews in the past where Biden has emphatically stated that if he would have stayed in the race, he would have won. He already beat Trump once, and it's just the delusions of an old man. Okay, let's go on to what we have next here.
The conclave.
The conclave, yeah.
Oh, you don't when things start playing. Sorry. The cardinals begin conclave to elect new pope in Majesty of the Sistine Chapel.
So yeah, if you don't...
Set to begin today.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. Conclave is beginning today, so it's going to be interesting what happens. I have given my opinions on our other channel, and I think the Catholic Church at this point is extremely captured. What do I mean by that? Liberal globalists have infected that church through the last pope, which was Francis. Francis personally appointed 87 cardinals, which is almost 2/3 of the total number of cardinals. To elect the next pope, you need a 2/3 majority, and then whoever is elected will be seen through as pope. So I think they only need a couple other popes to come on board. Very often they vote regionally as well. So there's a lot of cardinals in the EU. Very often they'll team up with the North American cardinals in order to elect the pope. What I was going to say, the best candidates for pope right now, there's like 4 conservative cardinals, one from Africa, one from Hungary, and a couple others. And I really wanted to see them kind of get in, but there's almost no hope with the way these cardinals are stacked against them. You have, I think it's almost 90 liberal cardinals. You have 17 conservative cardinals, and then you have a few that are just... call them libertarian, I guess you would say. They're on both sides of the fence. But also there's typically only 120 cardinals total that go into the conclave. This time there would be 137, but I believe 2 are sick, so it would be 135. Again, when Francis appointed the 87 cardinals, it went over the quota of cardinals that they normally have of 120, and that's why we're now dealing with 137. I actually expect this conclave to be extremely quick and probably elect the Pope's right-hand man. His name's currently slipping my mind, but if there somehow by some miracle is any pushback, the compromised cardinal is rumored to be the Canadian cardinal, which if that cardinal's from Canada, he's not a compromised cardinal. He's a complete liberal globalist shill. We've seen what happened with the Canadian elections recently. Do you have anything about the cardinals or anything what I said so far?
Well, just the whole timeline thing that if it takes too long, then that means something. If it is too short, it means another thing. Mm-hmm. So just watching how long it starts taking them will be interesting.
Yeah. So if it's a extremely short conclave, I'm almost thinking it shouldn't take more than 3 days. That's going to mean they have a liberal cardinal, most likely the Pope's right-hand man. If it takes a bit longer, say a few weeks, then I would expect maybe a compromised cardinal would come in, like the Canadian cardinal. That's who's rumored to be the compromised cardinal, although he's extremely liberal as well. If it takes an extreme long time, I mean record-breaking long time,
record-breaking would have to be, I think, more than 13 years.
13 years?
I think so, back in the 13 something.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. And there was one that lasted 2 years as well, I think.
Oh, wow. But if it does take an extreme amount of time, that's the only hope we really have of getting some kind of conservative cardinal in there. So I'm really hoping this goes a long time. I'd rather have it go years than anything else. But also, if it does go years, they must have a temporary person that steps in or something.
Yes.
So and how would the conclave work? They have to be able to go home at some point.
I believe they go, as we saw in the movie, back to their dormitories, but they're not allowed contact with the outside
years?
world.
13 years?
Oh, back then? No, they actually locked them up. That's what conclave mean.
Wow.
It means closed with a key. But,
yeah, well, I realize that.
Chiuso conclave, which means with a key, which eventually became conclave. That's where the word conclave comes from. I was watching something about it last night. And essentially what they would do regarding food, for example, was at first they would feed them properly. And then the longer they took, in this case, years, they started just giving them bread and water at the end. And at the end, I think they were only giving them water, so they would make a damn decision. And then they eventually did. But then 3 popes passed away consecutively after that. And then they had to keep doing it for too long.
Well, I'm glad I brought this story up. We had quite a bit of information there that I didn't know. Yeah, I realized that they were under lock and key and they weren't able to leave the Vatican. But if this goes years,
no, it's not going to go years.
We'll see. I hope it
there's
does.
new rules. Rules were instituted after that happened to say that they can't take that long.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay, well, let's head to the next story, which I think is Burger King. Not quite politics. I think this one slipped in with my political other stories, so let's get into this.
Burger King must face lawsuit over Whopper. I can never say that word. Whopper ads.
And I didn't actually have a chance to read this article, so why don't you read a little bit?
Why'd you put it in there?
Because it was Burger King. I want to see what's going on, and I typically do report on a lot of fast food chains, DoorDash, McDonald's, things like that.
So Burger King must face a lawsuit claiming it misleads customers with advertisements that make its Whopper sandwich, and other products appear larger than they are. In a decision Monday, U.S. District Judge Roy Altman in Miami found it plausible that some reasonable consumers in the proposed class action could be deceived by Burger King's ads. 19 customers from 13 states accused Burger King of materially overstating the size of nearly all menu items in its store and online ads. They cited its alleged portrayal of burgers that overflow the buns, with Whopper appearing 35% larger than the actual burger and containing more than double the meat. Burger King acknowledged that its photographers styled sandwiches more beautifully than workers do in restaurants, but said reasonable consumers know the point of menu board photos is to make items appear as appetizing as possible. Altman nonetheless found allegations that Burger King's ads go beyond mere exaggeration or puffery. He distinguished the case from a similar lawsuit against McDonald's, and Wendy's, that a Brooklyn, New York federal judge dismissed in 2023. Altman said Burger King allegedly overstated the size of its products to a much larger degree, including in post-2017 ads where the Whopper appeared larger than in earlier ads.
Yeah, so this is interesting. My initial reaction is to kind of say it's a frivolous lawsuit, but I would like for them to actually have actual legitimate depictions of their food, because this isn't just Burger King. This is every fast food place you go into is going to make their burgers look a lot bigger than they are and better.
Yes, and we have done some food photography, burgers specifically, and when you do try to make it look as good as possible, you use glycerin to mimic water, so water droplets on things like tomatoes and lettuce. So the whole point is to make it look better, and I think this is just consumers trying to get some money.
Yeah. When we first got into videography and making a YouTube channel, a small production company, I bought a camera and I thought we would make videos, only it was extremely hard to make videos. I realized I was way out of my depth. So rather than quit, I started doing photography on my own, street photography. I then got a job in food photography, as well as real estate photography, as well as graduation photo photography. And I worked for 3 different companies, learned basic composition, things like that. So that's kind of how I built my base. And from there, I then made a second attempt at going into YouTube, and it worked out a lot better because I did have that fundamental base. So never quitting and just keep going forward really worked for us, and that's how we kind of got where we're at now. If you watch on our other channel, Nat and the Guy Espanol, it wasn't always a Spanish channel. It started as an English channel when we lived in Canada. And we were going to the border to really highlight the truckers' protest. If you remember what happened with the truckers' protest,
The Freedom Convoy.
in Canada, the Freedom Convoy, that was our initial videos. We kind of just used our cell phone, and we were too scared to be on camera, so we did a voiceover, and we kept going out. Eventually, we got the courage to be on camera, and now here we are, 3 different shows, taking up my whole life. Okay, why don't we go into James O'Keefe? Was that the next one? Oh, no, SpaceX.
Is it?
Yep.
No, it's
So-
the U.S. Supreme Court.
Okay, yeah, you're right. U.S. Supreme Court,
Allows Trump ban on transgender members of the military to take effect for now.
yeah, and I reviewed this yesterday. It had just come in. So I just want to say, yeah, it's fine for adults if they want to transition or be transgendered or be gay, then they can be gay. The problem we have is in these crossover areas, such as children, taking away parental rights, giving minors autonomy and be able to make age of consent laws come down. Also, when we go into prisons, you can't just identify as man and woman and expect to be put in the opposite prison.
So safe spaces for women.
Yeah. So also, yeah, safe spaces for women, women's restrooms. We've seen female students getting assaulted within the United States when they did letting transgendered students into the bathrooms. This is another case where you can't be combat effective as a transgendered soldier. Number one, you won't be able to be on the front lines. Number two, a lot of transgender people were joining the military under Biden specifically because they were fully paying for all very expensive transition surgeries. Problem with those, when you get a transition surgery, you're out for months and months and months at a time. Also, you're permanently on medication that the military then has to supply to you. If you miss your medication because you're out in the field, bad things can happen. So it's just too much of a liability, I think, to allow transgender soldiers into the military. It's better just to keep it basic.
And the mental illness issue as well.
Yeah.
Okay. On soldiers that have mental issues.
Okay, let's go into SpaceX now.
So SpaceX gets FAA approval to ramp up Starship launches from Texas.
And this is great news. So other countries like China are going full force into space travel, launching satellites. SpaceX happens to have a huge advantage within their technology. The problem and the thing that was hindering them was the U.S. government under Biden. Because Musk was who he was, they didn't want to give him a lot of approval. They had to utilize him in a minimal sense in order to get their satellites into space because it was the cheapest and most effective way. We also seen Musk recently send a rocket up into space to rescue the astronauts that were trapped up there during the Biden administration. So this is really good now that the red tape's kind of being taken off. So they'll be able to expand the amount of ships they're launching. That means they'll be able to expand their manufacturing. If you've ever watched Musk talk about what is the genius of SpaceX, it's the ability to manufacture these rockets on an assembly line and then just have them all lined up one after another, ready to go. This is how they're planning to colonize Mars. I would really like to see them try to maybe terraform Mars, but a colonization would, I guess, be the first step. Did you have anything to say about SpaceX here?
No, I mean, at least it's better than, what's it called? Blue Origin?
Blue Origin. Blue Origin is just a pipe dream that they were stealing all the SpaceX employees and paying them more in the beginning. And it really went nowhere because their technology wasn't on the same level as SpaceX. Also, it was a big propaganda stunt sending these feminists into space to meet God. Okay, why don't we go into James O'Keefe?
So I do not want to take my life. Pray for me, James O'Keefe says. Next big report scares him.
So if you don't know who James O'Keefe is, he does a lot of undercover journalism. He has a lot of whistleblowers that come to him. He's actually trying to train the entire nation of how to do undercover photojournalism and video journalism to get inside these corporations, and it's working. He has educational programs showing how to infiltrate different companies and organizations, as well as what type of hidden cameras you should use and things like that. So he is really from the grassroots up training an entire nation to kind of infiltrate the government and different corporations so we can see what's going on underneath the hood. And what he said recently is this is going to be one of the biggest breaking scandals he's uncovered. So it's going to be interesting what it is. We don't know what it is yet. Supposedly it's going to come out later today, but he uncovered things about medical companies, I'll say, because we're on YouTube, and a lot of other things that were just jaw-dropping. So on tonight's show at Nat and the Guy at 9:15, back on this channel, we will be going into that James O'Keefe story because it should be out by then, and I'm sure there's undercover video to go along with it. So we'll probably play it for you if it's not too long.
From the rumors, it might touch upon Epstein and also pharmaceutical companies.
And we are going to go into Epstein in a minute, but there is major rumors that the documents had been destroyed and that Pam Bondi has dug a hole for herself on multiple levels. And anyway, we'll get into it in a minute when we get to that clip, because the reporter asked Pam Bondi directly. We heard the Epstein files were destroyed, and then we'll be able to hear a response. But
yes,
let's go into the next story before we get there.
Sure. You put this up there. I don't know what it's about.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we're going to listen to this one. Let me brief the audience really quick. So Saskatchewan NDP introduces anti-separation bill that aims to amend rules in Saskatchewan for separation. So I've been talking about this a lot, and we're going to talk about it in a moment as well.
Isn't it Alberta?
No, Alberta is ready to separate.
This clip is from Alberta.
Yes, I'm aware of that, Natalia. Do you want to tell the story then?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
There's Alberta. The separatist movement there is really strong. Conservatives rule the day kind of in that province. And if they are able to separate from Canada, this is going to really change the paradigm of who's governing who. Are the people, does the government represent the people, and are the people in control of the government? And if so, if they don't like what the government is doing because the government is running wild, can people choose to separate? If Alberta is able to separate from Canada, this is going to give precedent for Greenland to possibly separate, for states within the countries within the EU to separate from the EU. The EU is currently starting to collapse, so it's going to be very interesting. But this potential paradigm shift that's happening in Alberta is going to be interesting. The Canadian government has been scared for over a decade now because they used Alberta as a doormat that Alberta would separate. They forced Alberta to give hundreds of billions of dollars to other Canadian provinces and float the Canadian economy, yet they disenfranchised their voter base by giving them less seats in elections. Now, that being said, Saskatchewan is the next province over from Alberta, and there's a lot of talk there about a separatist movement kind of uprising. A lot of people think if the Alberta separatist movement is successful, Saskatchewan will be the next to go, and potentially after that, BC. BC is also getting legal paperwork into line for a potential separatist vote. So it will be extremely interesting. Now, the Canadian government needs to act fast to try to quell these separatist movements. They've been giving a ton of propaganda against Alberta, and now it looks like they're trying to change the legislation within Saskatchewan to stop the people from having a vote and implementing the people's will. So let's play the clip now. That was a big introduction.
Let me unmute that.
The very sovereignty of this great nation is under threat from the outside, and we have a premier who is threatening this nation from the inside. Smith has spent years pushing policies and ideas that would rip Alberta out of Canada piece by piece. She's endorsed the so-called Free Alberta strategy. She passed a Sovereignty Act. She's actively dismantling the RCMP. She's trying to pull Albertans out of the Canada Pension Plan. She remains one of the only premiers who will not sign agreements with the federal government on things that matter to Albertans, that matter to their pocketbooks every day, like childcare and pharmacare and dental care. Being a proud Albertan means being a proud Canadian, and we will not allow Danielle Smith to take that away from us. Visit separatistsmith.ca. Sign the petition. Add your name to the list of people, of Albertans who are standing up for this country. We believe in Alberta, we believe in Canada, and we're not going
this is a bunch of
anywhere.
propaganda. They've been shitting all over Alberta for a long time, and now the day has come where they're going to have a vote. Can the Canadian propaganda machine shut down the separatist movement? I don't know, but when this first came up about 10 years ago, this was the third rail in Canada. You were not able to talk about Diagolon or a separatist movement in Canada. If you did, you could be arrested and you would be debanked. If you don't know who Viva Fry is, it's another channel on YouTube, but he has done plenty of interviews that people were arrested and debanked for talking about Alberta separating. I think it will really change the paradigm if Alberta is able to separate, not just in Canada, but around the world. So I'm going to be keeping updates probably on a daily basis on what's going on with this Alberta separatist movement. So let's continue on now. Oh, this was interesting.
You put this in there. So this giant bronze statue of a woman was just installed in the middle of Times Square.
And I think I had a bookmark on X for this.
Oh, okay. Then let me go find that.
Okay, so this massive 12-foot tall statue was just erected in Times Square, which confronts perceived notions of identity and representation. So they basically put a statue of a fat black woman in Times Square. They're trying to keep wokeness, DEI, all these things going. I mean, this isn't even a powerful statue or something that you want. It's crazy. It's a black woman in a t-shirt, hands on her hips. This isn't a good representation of the black community.
No.
Did I have a clip of it on here on X or no?
I think this was just it.
Oh, okay. Maybe I had a video, but I might have forgot to bookmark it.
Yes.
Did you have any thoughts on this beautiful bronze statue?
I mean, it's just a way to, keep what the discourse they want to keep on there.
Are you for this or against this?
I don't really care about
I'm
it.
completely for it.
For it?
Oh, yeah. Why wouldn't I be for it? I mean, the amount of statues they've torn down over the last decade, we finally have a statue that people can vandalize and tear down one day. So I'm going to be interested how long it takes before this statue becomes vandalized.
Or taken down.
And this is in New York, so if it does get vandalized or taken down, that's a real statement against woke culture because New York is completely captured.
Yes.
Okay, and that was just a quick story. Now we're going to get into the meat and potatoes of the Pam Bondi story. Okay, well, maybe I'll set it up. And I did set it up a little bit a minute ago, but let's remember Pam Bondi kind of ran and campaigned on these Epstein files. She said day one they were coming out. She said they were on her desk when she got elected, said they're coming out in the morning. They never came out in the morning. It was a bunch of files that had already been released. After that, she's trying to quell the people by saying, well, we have 10,000 more documents. We're just trying to wait to release them. Then those 10,000 documents never really came out. And now she's saying she has another cache of documents, but the rumor mill is spinning, and it's kind of been leaked that these documents were destroyed, potentially because the U.S. government was involved with Epstein. At least that's the rumor. We cannot confirm that at this point, but this is becoming such a rumor right now that the reporters are actually asking Pam Bondi directly. And this is the thing about having independent media. Pam Bondi must have hated this question. And I really think her career is kind of on the line here. I don't think she's going to be able to get these documents. I personally believe they've probably been destroyed, at least the majority of them. Whatever remains probably isn't that incriminating. And the fact that she keeps saying she has these documents when she obviously doesn't, people are going to start calling for her resignation soon. She is the weakest link in all the Trump appointees so far. Okay.
And I might have to mute when she says the corn word just for YouTube.
Turn it way up.
For you or for the audience?
The audience, nobody can hear. It's very quiet all the way up. And replay it from the beginning. Well, before you play it, again, the reporter in the beginning of this asks, they believe the Epstein files were destroyed. How are you going to plan to release these? You can't really hear the question very well because the reporter doesn't have a microphone. But that is the question. So then we'll hear Pam Bondi's response.
James Comer said yesterday that all the Epstein files are missing. They still haven't heard from you.
No, the FBI, the FBI, they're reviewing, there are tens of thousands of videos of Epstein with children or child. And there are hundreds of victims. And no one victim will ever get released. It's just the volume, and that's what they're going through right now. The FBI is diligently going through that. I haven't seen that statement, but I'll call him later and find out.
She hasn't seen that statement. Everybody's seen that statement everywhere. It is all over the place. Former officials that worked in the government are now saying this. This is coming from credible sources. This isn't just the rumor mill. She has staked her whole career on this, and she is catching a lot of heat from these Epstein files. Later on, we're going to report on another Pam Bondi story, and she's really trying to avoid these files because this could be the end of her, and she is not performing up to standard. And the fact that she is now saying, no, there's tens of thousands of videos. I highly doubt that there's tens of thousands of videos if they're still.
I wouldn't doubt that.
I don't think they're still around. They would have burned them already.
Yeah, I think they existed at some point.
Yeah, I didn't say they didn't exist at some point. What I'm saying is they're not there now, and she's acting like there's about to be tens of thousands of videos released. We'll see, Pam Bondi. I'm expecting her resignation before I see any videos. But we'll see what happens. I would completely give her a second chance if the files did come out and the videos did come out and she was able to redeem herself. I would eat crow and I would say I was wrong. So we'll see what happens in the future here. Okay, let's go into the next thing, which is the UK braces for mass influx of Indians. Can you read the tweet?
As of 2021, there were 2 million Indians in the UK, and that was before we started issuing 250,000 visas to India a year from 2022 onwards to secure the trade deal. I'm not interested in being taken out of my country, regardless of whether it's by Indians, Pakistanis, Poles, etc.
Okay, and the reason I put this in wasn't specifically for this tweet, but was to bring up the subject of the Indian-Pakistan war that's currently escalating, and it has a potential to go nuclear. If you haven't seen any of the thing about the Indian-Pakistan war, it's huge. I'm going to get more in detail in just a moment. But before we do, we have to remember India used to be a colony of the UK, and Indian citizens have easy immigration status into the UK normally. So if a war does break out in that country, they're going to be able to claim refugee status, which is going to create a flood of Indians into the UK. Typically, Indian and Muslims don't get along very well, so there's going to be major conflicts on that front. Then you're going to add the Christians into the UK and the mix in that. The UK could be a tinderbox to get really violent. Also, Reform UK is currently the most popular party by far in the UK. They recently had a by-election. The Liberals and the Conservatives both lost ground, and the Reform UK, which is the centre-right party, is really gaining, and that seems to be the only party on the rise. I think Keir Starmer's big plan is to fill the UK with Indians. It's the only way the Liberal Party will be able to make a comeback, is to get low-educated voters from India and flood the UK with even more immigrants, which will really pit the Liberals against Reform UK in the future. Okay, now we'll get into the major story that was the thumbnail, and this is the India-Pakistan war. Why don't you read a little bit of this article, and then we'll get into it.
So India strikes deep inside Pakistan. Pakistan claims 5 Indian jets taken down in major escalation. India launched military strikes on targets in Pakistan. Both countries said on Wednesday, and Pakistan claimed it had taken down 5 Indian Air Force jets in an escalation that has pushed the two nations to the brink of wider conflict.
Okay, and before we go any further, this, in my opinion, is most likely fake news. There has been no debris, nothing found of these jets. Pakistan is severely underarmed right now. At the beginning of the Ukrainian war, the United States pressured them through the Biden administration to give the majority of their weapons and the majority of their missiles to Ukraine, which kind of left Pakistan defenseless. They have about 4 or 5 days of missile air defense right now, and that's why a lot of the Indian missiles that are coming into Pakistan are able to hit their targets, because Pakistan is completely defenseless right now. I reported last night on our Nat and the Guy show, Pakistan is currently going to the foreign negotiation minister, Lavrov, in Russia, begging him to go to India and kind of negotiate a peace to this. It's not going to work. And the fact that Lavrov is willing to do this is really surprising me, because India did support Ukraine and gave them all of their weapons, and now they're running to Russia asking for a negotiation, primarily because Russia and Putin are good friends with Modi and India. Also, the previous Biden administration was really good friends with Pakistan, but now that Trump is in office, Trump is good friends with Modi as well. So if India ever had the opportunity to kind of take over Pakistan or go in there, now would be the time. That's why this could really escalate. India also shares the major water supply and river with Pakistan, and they have the base of the river where most of the water originates. They have threatened to shut it off and shut it down. I don't know if they have the capability to do that, but they have threatened it. The reason this conflict is so dangerous is because India has nuclear weapons, but Pakistan has nuclear weapons, and it's a much smaller country. And because they have given most of their normal weapons away, they won't have normal escalation. They can't bomb India because they don't have the bombs right now. They don't have the tanks right now. They don't have the normal means of escalation to stop before it gets nuclear. Pakistan's primarily defense in this situation is ask Russia to negotiate. If that doesn't work, they may have to resort to a nuclear bomb in self-defense. If they do use a nuclear bomb, this will set a new modern precedence of a nation with nuclear capabilities actually using a nuclear weapon. Every other country has kind of stopped short of that, and that's the big taboo of war these days. If Pakistan uses a nuclear weapon, this kind of gives the go-ahead for China, Russia, even Israel to potentially escalate their conflicts into nuclear conflicts and say, see, Pakistan did it. Let's go into the bookmark that I had, and it was just showing some of the bombing that was not going from Pakistan to India, because most of that...
We probably won't be able to show that on YouTube.
It's just bombs. It's fine.
BOMBS.
Okay, just go into it. It's no people are on there. So all of the real, we'll just watch the beginning here. So most of the bombing is actually happening in Pakistan, and it's coming from India, because India does have a lot of weapons and is the superior power in this exchange. Just rewind to the beginning again. And this is just to show some of the bombing that is going on. I'll get better video for tonight's segment with Nat and the Guy. You can stop it there. I just wanted to show a little bit of what was going on. The issue we're going to have here is typically the United States or another superpower would step in on Pakistan's behalf. Typically, it would be the United States, but Trump is in office now that I said, and he's more friendly with India than Pakistan. So this won't turn into a proxy war. This will, if it does escalate, will be India overrunning Pakistan until Pakistan decides to defend itself with a nuclear weapon. And I don't think I actually went into what originated this conflict. And Pakistan, for decades now, kind of works with organized terror organizations within Pakistan and in the region, finances them. They work together in collaboratively cooperatively with their government. One of those organizations kind of went rogue and did an attack in India and then fled back to Pakistan. Pakistan didn't address the issue, and India was upset by this, and this started escalating by India first trying to cut off the water, then threatening bombing, then doing bombing, then Pakistan threatening nuclear retaliation. Now they're at the point where they're trying to bring in Russian negotiators to quell this, but I don't know if Russia even really wants to quell this. To have another war going on right now would take pressure off of Russia in the Ukraine conflict. Do you have any thoughts about this? This is a major, major story to keep an eye on because the two sides aren't in parity as far as their war capability goes. Like I said, Pakistan has given all their weapons away to Ukraine, and they're almost defenseless except for their nuclear weapons. Okay, we can go into the Reform UK elections. And I talked about this a little bit yesterday. I was just talking about it as it related to the other story, but let's continue.
So I read it?
Oh, yeah, you're going to read it.
So Farage hails election results as Labour and Tories digest losses.
Okay, so the Conservative Party, the Liberal Party are falling. They are both crumbling simultaneously. I don't think this has ever happened in UK history. The last time something happened like this, it was the Liberal Party that was replaced by, I think, Labour. But the Conservative Party stayed strong at that point. So it was a two-party system. You have Reform UK because of all these immigration issues really rising, and everybody is really flocking to Reform UK, and they are playing it brilliantly right now. But also, like I said, with this India conflict, if they do decide to flood the voter base so the Liberals can try to win the next election, this would help rally a lot more people around Reform UK. It might become Reform UK and a Liberal Party or Labour Party would be the two new major parties within the UK. Okay, we can continue on here. And Trump. Why don't you read a little bit of this? If you can.
So Trump restricts funding for gain-of-function research, calling it dangerous.
Okay, so this was huge. He put a bill forth yesterday, which he signed, which is going to limit gain-of-function funding from the government, and that's why a lot of this was going on because of the funding. When I first heard that, I said, that's not really enough. A lot of these labs and things like that are in foreign countries. There were 57 biolabs in Ukraine and other places around the world that the United States have funded. Why couldn't private money just come in and keep funding this, or what the U.S. government could funnel into the private sector to keep funneling this? But when I read more into this, there are a ton of things happening to try to stop gain-of-function research in this bill. So it is an amazing first step. Now we're going to go more into the story later. The second half of the story I can't talk about on YouTube. It's the origins of where a lot of this stuff happened. And I'm not talking China here. I'm actually talking North Carolina in the United States. This had first come up about 6 years ago. People left it alone because there wasn't a lot of evidence, but there is now evidence starting to emerge. So it's good to see what Donald Trump's doing on this end, but I'm very interested to talk tonight about what kind of are the origins of this. We're going to talk about that on RUMBLE. The first half of the show will start on YouTube tonight, and then we got some hot topics like this that we can't talk on YouTube, so we do move over to RUMBLE for the last couple segments. Okay, and I think we have one last story, which maybe you can find an article with real quick, but FBI director, actually don't find an article. We have a clip. The FBI Director Kash Patel and Pam Bondi announced arrests of 200 child predators this week.
Don't know if we can talk about that on YouTube.
Okay, well, my producer's saying we can't talk about that story as well on YouTube. YouTube likes to censor us a lot, so we will talk about that tonight on the other show. That starts at 9:30 on this channel. That's Nat and the Guy in English. It will go for about 45 minutes. And the last 15 minutes, we'll transfer over to RUMBLE so we can talk specifically about those two stories and anything else that comes up that the YouTube censors won't like us talking about. Thanks for tuning in today. If you could like and subscribe, it would really help this channel. We're having a tough time because we live in Mexico City. It won't press our English content outside of Mexico. So every single like really helps. Thank you. We'll see you tomorrow.
And also, sorry about the audio issues. We will try to fix them today.
Okay.